Hello, welcome to Diary of a Haygood. My name is Caitlin Haygood. I'm here with my husband Cameron Haygood.
Hello.
And today we are going to talk about self love and how it plays a role in obviously loving yourself and how it plays a role in all of your other relationships. So let's go ahead and dive into that. So, first off, Cameron, how would you def- what would be your definition of self love?
Self love would be understanding your own value or self worth. So, as in knowing I'm worth more than an abusive relationship, saying I'm worth more than that, I don't deserve this, saying, hey, I'm worth more at a company, I deserve more money, things of that nature would be more like self love.
I agree. Definitely knowing your self worth and telling yourself like positive things like I'm worthy of love, I can do hard things, I'm beautiful or handsome, um, I can achieve, goals. Just kind of reminding yourself of what you're capable of and who you are. Um, it's really important for us, whether you're a Christian or not, to know who you are and to speak those positive, affirmations to yourself. Because it does play such a huge role of how you look at yourself and how you value yourself. You're teaching others what you are willing to take on and put up with. Um, so that ultimately leads into how other people treat you. Because, like Cameron said, if you're in an abusive relationship, well, if you don't know your own self worth and self value, then, that abuse could keep going, but especially because they feed into that, when somebody is abusive, they don't want you to think highly of yourself. They don't want you to know how valuable you are. They're not, they're looking to hurt you. They're not looking, that's not love at all. When it comes to a career, like your job, you have to know what you're worth, like when it comes to either payment or how people treat you, with coworkers and bosses and, things of that such. And then, you're also teaching your children that, you're teaching your spouse that. It just plays a huge role in, every aspect of your life.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because it goes back to you're taught stuff like that. Like a lot of people, unfortunately, and even our parents, it can be generational curses where they don't know self love.
Yeah.
They never understood it. They never received it. They never nothing. So they legitimately don't know. It's not their fault. It just turns into a generational curse to not knowing um,
How to love.
how to love.
Because really, ultimately, too, if you don't know how you love yourself, you're going to have a harder time loving other people because you don't know how to love yourself. Like it plays a huge role in that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where you have to figure out your own worth first, and love yourself first. You basically have to learn to be selfish. It's the easiest way to explain it. Is that you have to learn to be selfish before you can be um, to love others.
Well, just like the saying, you have to learn to be okay and happy by yourself before you can get in a healthy relationship. Because if you don't make yourself happy, if you can't find contentment by being by yourself, you're not going to be in a healthy relationship because you're going to be so codependent on your spouse that it's going to ruin it. Because don't get me wrong, like there's nothing wrong with like wanting to spend time with your spouse and like wanting to be together, but you can overdo that. If you're not careful, like you still have to have your independent time. Like you're still an individual, and it's important to still have that time to be you and to figure yourself out and to do things that you enjoy and have just that little bit of alone time. You have to learn how to be alone.
Yeah, you definitely have to learn to be alone, and understand that it's okay to be alone, because a lot of people unfortunately don't understand that, and they get too caught up in, I gotta, I gotta have somebody here. I mean, there's too many people like that in these days of just in general, where they can't live without somebody being in their lives. Come hell or high water, they have to be somewhere.
And if you're so desperate to fill that void, you're going to jump into relationships that aren't healthy, that are, you don't actually love that person or want to be with that person. You also just don't want to be by yourself, so you'd rather be with, with something or somebody who doesn't truly make you happy or who doesn't truly love you. But you're going to stay in that because you would rather do that than be alone, and that's completely unhealthy.
Exactly. And that's where you have to find that your self-worth and say, I'm worth more than this, and say that this isn't worth it to me.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own worth, and everybody has their own self-value, but you have to figure that out for yourself, what your true value is. And it's all, love is in the eye of the beholder, and they say that for a reason, because it really is what, beauty.
Is it not beholder? Not love.
Beauty is. But, I mean, love is to a degree, too, because people are going to love you differently than the others, because their perspective and their view on your value is different.
Mm-hmm.
Just like your value of yourself is different. And that's where you have to figure it out for yourself. What works for you in your household may not work for me in my household. And that's what you have to figure out, is what works for everybody. And then go from there.
And self-love can be really hard, because if you aren't shown it, I hate to say that you have to be taught it, but ultimately, I feel like it is something you have to be taught. Because if you're not taught, like as a child with your parents, if you're not taught, like, that your voice matters, that your opinion matters, that you deserve to have, alone time, that you deserve love, that you deserve, attention and intentional time with each other, or, that you deserve intentional time, then they're really doing a disservice to you as you grow older, because now it's harder to learn as an adult than it is as a child. It can still obviously be done, but now it's been, like, beat into you for so long that, you don't necessarily deserve that. So now as an adult, you're having to deal with that as well as all these other things that come up with it, like in your relationships, and your relationship with your parents and your friends and with God and, all these things. It's so much harder to learn as an adult than as a child.
Oh, definitely. Because at that point, it goes back to it's ingrained in you at that point on what to do, what to expect, what to do, everything. You've already been instilled in you that what's expected of you at that point.
That question that we talked about the other day, should love be more self-sacrifice or pleasure? We were talking about that talking about a spouse. Mm-hmm. Let's ask that as self-love. How would you answer that question if you're applying it to yourself? How you love yourself?
So I'm confused.
Should love be more about self-sacrifice or pleasure when it comes to loving yourself?
When it comes to loving yourself, it should be more about, really back to the same thing I said before. It's a combination of the two. There's a slight bit of sacrifice, because unfortunately that's just how life works. You have to have a bit of sacrifice, but also too self-pleasure, that you can't even love yourself so much that you become involved in yourself so much that you become arrogant or, so involved in yourself that you're just too wrapped up in your own self that you can't even
like,
focus on anybody else. So there's a fine balance between the two.
I agree with you because, to a degree, like when I think about pleasure when it comes to like yourself, let's use the example of ice cream. Let's say, like, people are like, oh, just love yourself, just eat, eat the cake or eat the ice cream. Okay, well, that's fine as long as everything's in moderation. Let's say you eat the ice cream. Let's say the next day you have another bad day and they're like, oh, just love yourself, just eat it. So like if it's all about pleasure, because obviously like people get pleasure out of eating, like dessert or working out or whatever it is that like you prefer to do. If you do it too much, it then becomes you're sacrificing yourself because you're allowing yourself to you're losing yourself.
Yeah.
You're so focused on, oh, this will bring me happiness. This will make my day better. This will make me feel better. So then you're becoming dependent on items outside of yourself to make you happy. And that's unhealthy because nothing can make you happy except for yourself. And you have to truly dig down deep and be like, okay, this is my problem. This is why I'm doing this. Like journal about it. Talk to someone about it. Go see a therapist, whatever you got to do, to figure out what is really deep down, what is really going on with yourself. That way you can pinpoint what it is and you can start working on it. And, the faster, and I'm preaching to myself here, the faster that you work on it, the faster that you're going to be able to overcome that. You're going to be able to say, oh, okay, like this is what I used to be. Well, look how much healthier I am now. Whether it be your mind or your body or your spirit or whatever it may be. So I do agree that there's a really fine balance between sacrifice and pleasure. And for everybody, that's going to be different,
Mm-hmm.
And you just really have to find for yourself, like you can't copy somebody else. You have to find what works for you. And I think in this world, this day and age, we all see like, oh, this person has that, or this person has that. Oh, I want that, and that's not fair. They get that, and I don't have that. And we're so like focused on like everybody else that we're not like, okay, stop. What do you have to do to reach this? What do I have to do to get what I want? And to work toward that and put your energy into that and not just sit here and be like, oh, woe is me, poor pitiful me. I don't have that. I don't have that big nice house. I don't have the brand new car.
Exactly.
I don't have that body. I don't have that relationship. Put the work in for it,
Mm-hmm.
And again, I feel like that also relates back to loving yourself and working on yourself and being able to admit to yourself, like, I'm lazy. I don't get up and go do what I should. Or I eat too much. Or whatever it may be. Whatever, like, your problem is. You have to own that and accept that and be like, okay, I'm going to change this. I'm going to start doing this 10 minutes a day. Or 3 times a week. Or every day I'm going to spend 5 minutes of putting effort into this part of my life, and then working up from there.
Yeah, because you have to sacrifice. I mean, you have to ultimately sacrifice something. You can't. Bodybuilders don't just magically get that body. They sacrifice time. They sacrifice effort,
Energy.
Energy. They do all kinds of things to ultimately achieve what they have. They don't just magically get it. It takes a lot of sacrifice. They eat certain types of diets. They eat high protein diets. They eat, they do things like that because that's what they have to do to get what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to, that's fine. Like, I ain't willing to. I ain't gonna sit here and say I am. But I have to understand that I ain't gonna have a body like that because I'm not willing to sacrifice what it takes to get that. And that's cool. I've accepted that. But other people are like, well, I want that, but okay, well, here's the effort. Here's the book you got to read and start applying it to yourself. Oh, well, never mind.
That's too much work.
That's too much work.
Too much effort.
Too much effort. Well, that's not, self-love. That's not self-sacrifice. That's not anything. That's just being mad because somebody has something that you don't. And that's just not acceptable in the end because you're just too wrapped up in what other people have that you can't, get over it. and say, well, that's cool. I get it. I'm happy for you. And then move on with life and say, I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. And move on. That's what should really be going on.
Yeah.
Is,
Agreed.
Is you should say, I'm happy for you, and I'm glad that it worked out for you. But most people just want to get wrapped up in themselves. In the end.
I think too, when somebody says self-love, or for me personally, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me personally, when somebody says self-love, I kind of cringe. I kind of cower down. I kind of fold in on myself. I try to scoot myself back to not be noticed or seen, because I definitely struggle with self-love. I've definitely struggled with, when people say we are our own worst critic, I 100% am my own worst critic. I've struggled with my looks or my attitude or my personality, and I've allowed the world to define who I am. And it's really, you're doing such a disservice to yourself when you do that, because every single person that you meet in your life is going to have a different opinion on you. You could literally be perfect, and there are going to be multiple people in the world who have absolutely nothing but horrible things to say about you.
Oh.
And you cannot allow other people to define who you are.
Okay, so perfect example, Jesus himself. If you're religious, you're a Christian, you believe Jesus was very real, he was a perfect man, he was as perfect as perfect gets, but yet the Jews, even to this day, don't believe he ever existed, don't believe he was ever alive, don't believe he said who he was.
And he was a Jew.
Yeah, and he was a Jew. He was born a Jew. So, but they bashed him. They're the ones that helped send him to the cross, because they had to choose between him and another criminal. And they said, well, shoot, if it's between Jesus and the criminal, come on, criminal, come off them stage and come on back. Jesus, bye. But they still criticized him. They criticized his miracles. They criticized the fact that he did miracles on Sundays.
Because of jealousy.
Because Sundays were holy days. So they're like, shoot, you can't do that on a holy day. We don't do that kind of stuff right here. So you got to understand that no matter what, somebody's going to find something they don't like about you. Face facts. It is what it is. Move on, life. Life will carry on no matter what you do or say. Life will carry on.
Yeah, you have to find what you enjoy. Find what truly makes you happy. You like doing puzzles? Do puzzles. You like going hiking. You like fishing. You like golfing. You like swimming. You like doing hair and makeup. You like, talking in your phone and, doing selfies. Find what truly makes you happy and roll with it. Mm-hmm. And you know what? There's a bunch of other people out there who enjoy the same things as you. So get out there, find groups of people who, have similarities to you, and start up a conversation, it makes you feel more comfortable with yourself. It makes you feel like you're more validated, and you should be validated. And everybody's got their thing. Everybody has their niche in life too. It's so sad to see somebody feel like they're unworthy and unloved because they're surrounded by people who don't see their value. And a lot of the times that comes from your family. I've personally witnessed so many people who have been looked down on and shunned and disowned by their own family because they don't fit into the mold that the family is, wanting and expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's awful. That sucks, that comes from your family. But don't allow them to make you feel so unworthy. You are worthy. You deserve love. You deserve people who are going to cheer you on and pat your back and support you and hold up the signs. And, if you're a sports person, hold up the signs in the stadiums and the bleachers and cheer you on. And, whether it be a small achievement or a big achievement, it doesn't matter. You should still have those people who are on your team, who are there to back you up, who are there to, lend you a shoulder to cry on and tell you that you're amazing and that that you're so smart, or whatever it may be that you need to hear. Like, you should have at least one person, if not multiple, in your life that are there for you like that. Everybody deserves that.
Exactly.
And it's so sad how many people don't have that. They haven't found their people in life.
Mm-hmm. Because everybody's so jealous of each other.
Yeah.
And that's all it boils down to.
Which again goes back to self-love.
Yep. They're so jealous of each other that they just get so wrapped up that they just can't let somebody else be happy. Because that's ultimately what it boils down to. They just can't let somebody else be happy.
Yeah.
In life. It's not about what you have, it's about what I don't have in life, is what people get wrapped up in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not okay, people. Like, you have to understand that some people just have more than you for whatever reasons, but you also have things that they don't have for whatever reasons. They have a way of talking to people that you just can't match.
That's okay.
And that's okay. You wish you could match it, but you just can't.
We shouldn't be so focused on building ourselves up, though, that we demolish other people in the process. That's being a bully, and you shouldn't have to bully somebody to make yourself feel better.
Mm-hmm.
You should support other people. You should cheer for them. You should love on them. That's what we're meant to do as people. If we could just spread love, and which I know that kind of sounds like a hippie, but if you could just spread love and truly love on people, our world would be such a different place. Like, if we could just spread happiness and joy and cheer for people and not be so filled with hatred and anger, we would truly be living in different times.
Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, that's not how people work these days.
Yeah.
And that's just a sad fact, unfortunately.
It's sad. Well, before we end it, I also wanted to discuss what are some ways that you personally help yourself or make yourself feel loved by you. Like, how do you love yourself? What are ways that you can do to encourage that, to build that?
Find things that make you happy. Whether it be something as simple as playing a game, painting. You find what makes you happy. But you also have to look back, and something I'm still working on myself. You have to understand, literally and physically, you have to look in the mirror and understand that you were created the way you were for a reason. Whether you like the way you look or not, you were created that way for a reason. Whether you want to accept that or not is on your own accord. But you have to understand, you were created that way for a reason. For whatever reasons, you created to look and act in general the way you are for whatever reasons. And you have to learn to accept that. And that's a big part of loving yourself. Otherwise, you will always despise yourself because your hair color's not right. Because your hair doesn't lay flat like that girl that you just like. Or your hair doesn't spike up like your best friend's does. Or your other friend's got dreads and you white. You can't do dreads. It just doesn't work that way. So you have to understand that you were created that way for a reason. You can do things and achieve things that other people can't. Until you can love yourself that way, it's basically impossible to truly love yourself.
Yeah, I think it's all about breaking it back down to the true basics. I think it's about letting go of everything that people have tried to define you as, breaking it back down, and starting from basic things, or from nothing, if you have to go back down to nothing. Look in the mirror and say, I am, whatever your name is, look, I'll be like, I am Caitlin Haygood. I have blonde hair, I have gray eyes, I am who I am. That's something that I cannot change, like, and then write down affirmations on the mirror if you have to. And that way, when you see them, start reading them. Say them out loud. So that way you're reading them, you're speaking them, and you're hearing them. Write down that you are, capable, that you can let go of anger, that you are loved by God, that you are successful, that you are lovable, that you know how to love, that you deserve love, that you deserve happiness, that whatever it is that you need, write it down and say it to yourself and say it every day. And, then start, give yourself something to work on daily that's physical. Like, let's say that you don't wash your hair but once every few months because it's just not something you're into. Well, start washing your hair more often. Or say you don't wear bright colors ever. Get a bright colored shirt and say, okay, once a week or once a month or however often, I'm going to wear that brightly colored shirt to bring me out of what I'm in. Or if you don't wear makeup and you want to wear makeup, just, once every so often, put on makeup and then build on that. Put on another type of makeup or whatever it may be that, you need to do. And don't be afraid to try different things just because you're afraid of people being like, well, you didn't like that 2 days ago. So what? Try out new things. Go do things. Like go ride in a hot air balloon. I don't know if people can do that everywhere. I know that we can around here every so often. Go ride in a hot air balloon. Go zip lining. Go swimming in the ocean. Go try new food. Try oysters or gator bites, or don't be afraid to try something new to figure out who you are and define yourself, like, and if you don't like how you are, change it. If you don't like that you have no muscle, walk around your house, do some squats, lift some weights. If you don't like that you can't sing, well, start practicing. If you don't like that you're not organized, well, start in one cabinet with one drawer. Start small and then build up from there and start to define yourself and start to realize your strengths and your weaknesses and not what other people have told you. Because you are not what people tell you. You are who God made you to be, and you are who you decide to be. It's all about who you decide to be. You have the power over yourself. Mm-hmm. And remember that. And remember that you are worthy and that you are lovable and that you deserve love, because that's everybody. So thank you for hanging out with us today. We appreciate you guys downloading and listening and liking and all of the things. And if you have any topics that you'd like for us to discuss in the future, please reach out and let us know. And we will see you next time on the next episode. Bye.